So you said something there. You said you there's always something to learn from everybody. You still get on the training calls. Everybody's a little different. So you took all of these people, all of this training that you digested, that you consumed, for lack of a better way to put it. What do you do a little bit differently in the home that we because as of right now there's not a Matt B in home training video. So what do you do a little bit differently in the house that they won't find on any of those other videos that are out there?
Sure. Sure. Honestly, you'll laugh because you'll probably see where I'm coming from this, but I'm not sure, because at a certain point, you're taking little bits and pieces from so many different people. You just kind of become this like Frankenstein monster of all these different FFL agent powerhouses. If you're doing it right. One thing I would add is just watching a bunch of training videos isn't going to help you if you're not getting out there and putting in activity, because you're not going to know when and how to implement stuff. A
Right.
lot of people, they'll sit around, never run a first appointment because they want to watch every training video that's ever been put out. But you got to be putting in the activity if you're going to be able to implement that kind of stuff. But as far as the in-home goes, I don't know if you want a full role play, if you just want kind of the
Let's
basic
just
structure, but
we got time.
yeah, what are you kind of looking
Let's
for?
just do a full role play.
Okay. So typically what I do is I'm running mortgage protection of all different shapes and sizes. I'm using probably 7 or 8 different vendors between mailers, second chance, call-ins, so all different kinds. That was a mistake that I learned back in last October, not being diversified. I had discovered the magic that is second chance mortgage leads. But then I was new and naive, didn't realize how finite those can be.
Right.
So had a little hiccup in the lead flow there last October. So I learned that lesson pretty hard. And hopefully you all can learn from that to never just depend on one lead vendor or one lead source. That is a business suicide right there. So that was a stressful last October. Learned that lesson the hard way. Only issued 15,000. So that was tough. But yeah, so I'm typically running mortgage protection appointments, and my goal is to keep them really, really simple and try to pull all the objections forward. You hear that all the time because I'm really, really, really bad at overcoming objections, like really bad. My first
Yeah.
instinct, I always get like flustered and nervous and annoyed, especially if, some clients will throw just like the stupidest objection you've ever heard at you. And you just want to like call them out on it, but that's not going to get you anywhere. So, so I'll get kind of flustered and stuff. So my goal is always to pull out any objections at the beginning, but also to keep it so simple that there's not a whole lot that they can object to. So it starts off with my mindset. When I'm walking into the home, I try to, you can be religious or not, but I always try to hit the reset button. So for me, I'm always saying a quick prayer on my way up to the door. Hey, Lord, help me to forget everything that's going on and help this family. Something like that, because, whether you're building an agency or not, this business can be stressful, or life in general can be stressful. And so if we take that into a home, we're doing a huge disservice to that family, because they don't care what's going on with us. That's our job, is not to bring our crap in there, with us. So you got to leave that behind when you're getting in there. So starting off with the big smile on my face, that's not my personality. I'm pretty introverted most of the time. Like, I don't like to be big and bubbly and friendly and stuff, but so I'm putting a big smile on my face and being friendly and assuming that I'm getting in there to the table, right? I'm seeing myself in. A lot of people, especially when they're new, they'll be surprised when the client lets them in the door. Like, you should be surprised. That's why you're there, So you're picturing that and you're seeing yourself getting to the table. Always go to the table. Maybe 4 out of 100 appointments should be at something other than a table. If it's any more than that, you just want to assume that. So getting to the table. From there, I've got my license laminated, so I throw my license on the table. Hey, Matt Borsh, obviously I'm the field underwriter here to help you guys with the mortgage protection. And so I'll give them my credential there with my license, let them know I'm certified by the state to help them with the coverage. And then from there, I'm always reminding them why I'm there. In other words, if I have a physical lead, I'm showing it to them. Or if it was something like a call-in, I'm confirming like, hey, so I've got your file pulled up here. Your loan's with Chase Bank, loan for about $249. Is that correct? So I'm reminding them that I'm not there because like I'm trying to sell them something. I'm there because they reached out. Mm-hmm. They're asking me for help. So I'm trying to remind them about that. Hey, this is the lead you filled out. and sent back in. You know, I know it was a while ago. If you're running second chance leads, I know it was a while ago, but we just saw that no one had gotten you this information, so they sent me out to make sure we can close out your file here. So I'll be going over that with you today and closing out your file today. I'm always trying to say stuff like, hey, this is it. They're sending me out one time, you know, just little stuff like that adds up throughout an appointment. So first step is, hey, here's my license. Second is, hey, here's why I'm here. And you can apply this to any kind of appointment, obviously, final expense, instant internet, whatever. Here's your file that you sent in. And then third is I'm setting the table. In other words, I'm telling them how it's going to go next. So, hey, Matt Borsh, licensed by the state of Michigan to help you guys with the coverage today. Here's the form that you had filled out. This is what we'll be taking care of for you today. Obviously, I'm the field underwriter. So my job is to figure out what you might qualify for, make sure we find something you can afford, and then I'll help you submit that application. So what this will look like is I'm going to ask you guys about 2 minutes of health questions. That'll help me figure out what you might qualify for. I'll ask about 2 minutes of finance and budget questions. That way I'm not wasting your time showing you something that you can't even afford on a good month, right? Haha. And then from there, client, what we'll do is we're going to look at a couple of options. I'll be able to get very specific at that point because I'll know what programs we'll be looking at. So I'll get very specific for you. We'll look at a couple of options. We'll look at coverage options, how much it covers, what it covers, and how much it costs if you're approved. And then obviously they just send me out once, Wayne. So at that point, you're going to tell me one of two things. You'll tell me, hey, Matt, let's try to get approved for this option or this option. Or you'll tell me, Matt, I'm declining the coverage today. And Wayne, either one's fine by me. I'm just a field underwriter, so I'm here to show you the best option that you would qualify for here in the state of Indiana, and then help you apply for it if it makes sense. Is that fair enough?
Okay, stop. So understand that he said to eliminate the I want to think about it. How long do I have to make a decision? Let me see if this fits in my budget. He said today 3 times already. So in their mind, they hear today like we're doing this today. And then he said they only send me out once. Like, that's brilliant. He said 4 times that we're doing this today, and they've affirmed that we're doing this today before he even got out of his introduction, if you will. And then confirm the information just legit goes that much further, in addition to his license, of solidifying that he's legit, that he's here to help them protect their family, and all of this is on the up and up. And then again, we're taking care of this today. You're going to tell me if you're going to choose A, B, or C, or that we're declining the coverage. Again, we're doing this today. So either you take this today, we're making a decision to protect your family today, or I'm not coming back. So they know that there's no rescheduling, there's no follow-up, there's no nothing. We're doing this today. I just need to make sure that you guys, so when you go back and watch this recording, understand the structure and the intentionality behind what he just did. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah. One thing I would point out too is I've actually recently started. I don't bring up who I'm with, like as far as family first. Not because I'm trying to hide it. I'll tell them at the end when I walk them through my business card, my digital business card and stuff. But one thing, I try to simplify everything. And so I used to show them, hey, I'm with Family First and we're a broker and I'm shopping with all these carriers. But typically what I do now, my brain, I skipped over this part, but I'll say a quick word track. I'll say, and this can apply to any appointment, but if we're applying it to mortgage protection, so I don't work for the bank, nor do I work for an insurance company. We're just a broker. So I'm just shopping anyone that offers mortgage protection here in the state of blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of times people will ask, oh, do you work for my bank? Or, oh, who are you with? So I'm just kind of minimizing it. Like, it doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter to you. I'm just looking at anyone who offers mortgage protection. We'll find the best one. And then when I'm filling out their receipt, that's the first time they're going to hear what company I'm putting them with, because I'm the professional there, right? They're not going to be choosing, they don't know the difference between Americo and Mutual of Omaha's products, right? So if we're the professional, we're the one putting them in the best position. I'll let them know when I'm filling out the receipt at the very end. Hey, great news. We're able to get you approved through Americo, and then walking through that kind of stuff. And I'm with Family First, but the great news is if I die before you, you're fine, because Americo's been around over 100 years and they're worth over 30 billion. So they've got your 250, no problem. Stuff like that. So sorry, that's something I glossed over, but I try to say something like that in the intro as well. That overcomes the objection. I don't even know who you're with later down the road, something like that. So that's the setup. I would say that's the most important part of the appointment, because you're setting the tone, and it's not just important what you say, it's important how you say it. I would say that's something I learned a lot over time as well, is your tonality, your matter of factness, and you're not emotional about it. That's something I get a lot from you. You're so bored on the phones. You're so, just like matter of fact in a lot of different parts where you should be, right? Obviously, there's a time to get emotional, but for most of it, you want to stay not excited, right? You're not there to sell them something, right? We'll be fine if they buy or don't buy. That's why I
Yeah.
try to say that at the beginning. You can tell me, Matt, let's apply for this one, or I'm going to define the coverage. Either one's fine by me. I'm just here to show you the best option and make sure it makes sense. So that's the setup. And then from there, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going into the financial inventory, filling it all out. Don't try to overthink it. Don't try to think you can skip one part of it or the other. The part that you skip is going to be the part that bites you in the butt later. So don't skip
Always.
any part of that financial inventory or whatever you call, the form that you're filling out. Just use the same one in every home and fill it all out. And then from there, that's when I'm gonna, if I know what product I'm gonna be positioning, I'm gonna run some quotes for it. When you're brand new and you don't get health stuff maybe as much, I would always recommend pre-screening. In other words, you go to the product that you're thinking with America, or if you don't know a product, you're calling your upline, your manager or mentor or someone and asking them, hey, what product do we think would make the most sense for this client? Because you've already got their info filled out in the financial inventory. So then you're going to pre-screen, because America has this great part of their e-app. They're the only carrier that does it, where you fill out the first 4 pages. You just tell the client, a simple word track that I use is, hey, Wayne, so what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to run a quick pre-screening on you. Basically, there's no physician involved in this process. They're just going to check your medical history, prescription history, so they know who to work with there. So this will just narrow down the options that I have to make sure we're not filling out 6 different applications today. So let's go ahead and sign here for the pre-screening. Okay, great. You hit initiate underwriting. And now you know if you have a good shot with America, or if you get the decline, you're checking cheat sheets and you're calling managers. It doesn't have to be someone that's necessarily a Hall of Fame producer, just someone that's ran a couple hundred appointments. That'll give you the experience you need to know where to pivot from there. And the key thing there too is don't tell them that America declined it, because you only get 2 strikes in these appointments. And by strikes, I mean declines. If you tell a client they got declined twice, you're out. Like you're not going to pivot again. And maybe, Wayne, maybe you've noticed something different, but in my experience, after you get 2 declines, they're saying stuff like, what, just forget it. You know what, let's not do this. I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. They'll pick something out of the air. But that pre-screening is so helpful, because that way, okay, I'm positioning America's product, or where to go from there. And a manager will be able to help you out with that. So you want to do that pre-screening after the financial inventory is filled out. The illustration I use for all of that process, the financial inventory, the pre-screening, is what you're doing is you're playing poker with the client. And by filling out the complete financial inventory and doing a pre-screening, you see every one of their cards and the card up their sleeve too that they're cheating with. Like, you're going to know every single card in their hand, right? And so now, because once you show price, you're done. You've laid your hand down. That's it. You got nothing else. You can try to rebuttal. You can be a rebuttal pro. Best of luck to you. But at that point, if they're not saying, let's go with that one, the odds of you closing that business is pretty slim. So if you fill out the full financial inventory, if you pre-screen, and if you're uncertain, you're calling a manager for direction on where to go for that client, you now have a super solid base to know what to position to them. And because the bigger problem we solve for them, the bigger our paycheck is going to be, and the more solid the business is going to be for you and for the client. So from there, I'm writing up some quotes. I don't try to be weird about it, but I try to make sure they're not staring at it the whole time, because I don't want them seeing me write down 197 a month, 128 a month without any kind of context. So I try to flip my binder or something to where I'm writing down some quotes. I tell them, hey, give me 2 minutes. Let me write up some options here for us, and we'll go over them together. So I get my quotes together. I've filled out the financial inventory. I've pre-screened. So I know I'm going with, Eagle Premier, or I know I'm going with CBO 100 or something like that. I write out my quotes. I flip the quotes over and I look them in the face. I say, now, Wayne, one last question here before we look at some quotes. And this is super awkward, Wayne, but we need to talk about it now because we're both here alive and healthy right now. And so obviously that's why we're having this conversation. So Wayne, what does it look like for you if you don't make it home from work tomorrow? They're rushing you to the hospital. you're in a bad accident, and we have no idea when you're getting back to work, if you're getting back to work, what kind of shape you're in. You're asking a very awkward emotional question based off of the info that you now have, because you know their complete financial picture, you know their health, you know the product that you're positioning, if it has living benefits or if it's Eagle Premier, you know, what does it look like for you, Mary, if Bob didn't wake up this morning and it was just me and you sitting here? How are we getting by financially? And then you shut up and you look them in the eye and you wait. And if you've done everything right, they're going to tell you something. Never settle for the first thing they tell you. Always dig deeper. Unless their first thing they say is, well, Matt, that's why you're here. That's very rare. Like maybe one out of 100 is going to give you that right off the rip. But you want to dig deeper until it gets awkward. Do not show price unless you're awkward. Just don't. And the reason I say that is because that is my biggest struggle. That is my Achilles heel in the home. I hate getting awkward. I'm such an analytical, logical, problem solver kind of a personality that once I get through the financial inventory, for me, it's done. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, duh. If you're disabled or if you have a heart attack, you guys are screwed. So here's your solution, right? Yeah. But you can't tell them that. They have to tell you that. And so that's where, before you show price, get awkward. The more awkward you get, the more solid a sale it's going to be, the better chance you have of that family keeping that coverage. And also the more coverage you're going to be able to put in place for them. So once you've gotten awkward and Wayne says, you know what, Matt, I have no idea. I've got, you know, that 15 grand in savings that I told you about, that'll last me a few months. But after that, I don't know, probably have to sell the house or something. So now I'm going to take your answer that you just told me, and I'm going to spit it back to you. So I'm going to say, okay, Wayne, so let's make sure when that happens, you're not out of a house. Let's make sure, Wayne, when that happens, that your son doesn't have to open a GoFundMe to pay for your final expenses. Which of these options, if you were approved, is going to make the most sense for you to solve this problem and make sure that we're not putting you on a ramen diet if you get approved? Because you've already got the quotes. The emotions are at the highest point they're going to be in that appointment. They just told you their problem, and now you're solving it. So you show them those options, and you ask them, hey, if you were approved, which one of these makes the most sense for you based on the coverage amount, making sure you're not going to lose this house or you're not going to be a burden on your family, and also making sure I try to say something funny about, you know, and you're not going to go bankrupt, or we're not going to put you on a ramen noodle diet or something like that. Yeah. And you just shut up, sit back and wait. And if you've done your job right, they're just going to point to one and say, let's go with that one.
It all makes sense now. I understand why your numbers look the way they do. And for those of you that weren't taking notes, even the way that I take notes, I'm definitely going back to watch this again. So this is definitely one, Matt, one for the ages. This is one that I'll definitely refer people to.